reply was a whisper, edged with a smile. It hissed across the maiden's bridge, and sign felted on its skin, the chill of the first cold wind that always precedes a storm. Weep as you suffer the same fate as your corpse, God, it whispered. We have come for you. That is a quote from a book with an interesting foundation for its inspiration. Its inspiration stems from a tabletop game. And no, this isn't some board game or card game that you're perhaps thinking of. It's something so much more. A tabletop game is a kind of strategy battle game that is played out on, well, you guessed it, a table. That, in its most basic sense, is what a tabletop game is, and I shall illuminate these details down the road. See, we live in a time where many people, especially younger people such as ourselves, are artists, writers, or just creative minds looking for an outlet. Tabletop games are just that outlet, and as a player of this for over 6 years, I can attest to this. So Sam, I'm interested. How do I get into this? What do I need? Well, because there's more than one tabletop game out there, let's just narrow it down to one, for example's sake. Warhammer 40,000, or 40K for short. Like any other game, you'll need the rulebook, but you'll also require two very simple yet key items to the game: a measuring tape and dice, 6-sided dice to be exact. So I got those. Now what? Well, then you need the heart of the game, the models. Yes, models. These models are not just for the artistic value of the game, oh no. They are what make the game itself. How many of you have ever played real-time strategy games such as StarCraft II or Command & Conquer? Tabletop games, or rather Warhammer 40,000, are exactly like that. And for those of you who don't understand, don't worry, I'll elaborate. This is a game where you pick a side, whether you're a Space Marine, a follower of the Dark Gods, the red one.
The red one, sorry.
Or an orcaholic like myself. There's actually a Zoom thing on there. And from choices such as these, along with many other unnamed ones, you build an army from them. Yes, you construct a miniature army out of it. As a player, you're allowed the freedom to build and play whatever kind of army that is appealing to you, whether that would be, show a picture.
Oh.
A little bit more to your left. Whether it be an armored battalion, like there on the far right-hand side, my left side, or if you would prefer an endless swarm of just wave upon wave of infantry or monstrosities to just hurl at your opponent until eventually you win. With endless possibilities, this offers the player countless battle strategies to construct, and also guarantees that no battle is the same when facing an opponent, because no one army is the same. And because of this random factor, it turns the game into the ultimate challenge, never playing the same game twice. But there's also so much more to it than just the gaming value. There's also a greater level of artistry involved. Just like the novel I quoted from, hundreds of other books have been written specifically for Warhammer 40,000, and thousands more for tabletop games in general. In fact, the novelization of this game, Warhammer, was so successful that it's even created its own publisher known as the Dark Library. And the Dark Library has published, as I said, hundreds of other books. But novels are not the only creative construction made from games like Warhammer 40,000. There is also art. And I'll show you this art right now. Let's show the next one. And a little bit to the other side. All the way to the other page.
What's it?
And I go to the next art. And these drawings are done by countless, well, not countless, but many various artists. These are not all the same person drawing the same art. There are plenty of artists hired by both the company and unofficial artists as well. As you can kind of see from this picture, its art style is very much different from the others. Last one. And even though the game is called Warhammer, with the emphasis on war, not everything is always war, as you can tell from this picture. And to describe what you're looking at, that's an alien city. Pick me. But there isn't just art in the sense of drawings and paintings as you just saw before us. There's also art to be held in the models. Because we as the players and collectors alike, we are given the ability to not only construct the models in any way we see fit, but we can also paint them and also add some pretty gnarly conversions. And I actually happen to have a conversion with me at the moment. Bring it back down, that's fine, right there. This is actually a model from my friend. Okay. No, keep it up there. Right there, keep it right there. It's a little bit hard to tell. However, he looks like one piece of just one particular model. He is actually made from 4 different models. The body itself is one, the right arm is another, the thing on top of him is a completely different part. That left arm actually comes from a vehicle itself, the legs are different, and the base is special ordered. He is made from roughly 4 to 5 different models. And as the developers of this game clearly intended, they can all match each other with great symmetry and create wonderful conversions that are even greater than this. The sky is really the limit when it comes to this. So in conclusion, I have only just begun to scratch the surface of what is Warhammer 40,000, and also the world of tabletop games. There is so much more depth that can be looked into, but I hope that from these demonstrations and examples that perhaps you yourself found something interesting in this very old hobby, 20 years. And should you find yourself truly interested and start playing, remember this. In the grim darkness of the far future, there was only war. Thank you.
All right, Siraj, what did you think? Oh, it just came in. Missed that one. Well, is there somebody from who's doing an oral evaluation who'd be willing to switch so Siraj can do one later?
Thank you.
I got it.
Okay, Trevor, thank you.
Man, Sam, I'm very impressed. Your organization demonstrated your control, and I felt even with you, and you had my attention as a listener. Your visuals are very effective. I know exactly what you're talking about. And I felt your poise very powerful. I know what you're talking about. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, Sam, there are a couple things that I think work really... Oh, don't stand there. It's like your target practice. Yeah, no. It creeps me out, you know. It makes me feel like I'm yelling at you, and I'm not yelling at you. We're working together here, you know. This is a team effort to get things better here. There are some things that I really liked. I like the attention device and the way you came back to it again at the end. You delivered them very effectively. You planned it so that it would draw us in, and you revealed the topic in an interesting way, and I think that that helps a lot. Internal structure, I think, was relatively clear, but I didn't hear a preview. The summary was not as clear as it could have been. So it's not like I got lost during the presentation, but I wasn't always sure where I was going and why I was going there, and I think that that needed to be focused a little bit more. You had a pretty good purpose statement, so it seems strange to me that it wouldn't be followed up by something that kind of outlines what's coming up also. The information that you have good definitions, you make it interesting to the audience. All of that's fine, and I think that you've got good personal experience that you've included in this as well. There is I assume some research in what you're talking about, because you talk about the novelizations, you talk about the number of people who are involved in the game, you've got some historical development on it that's not really the subject of the speech, but it's in the background. But I didn't hear any source citations, and I thought that your speech needed a little bit more proof than just your personal observations on it. Your personal observations are all good, and you made them interesting, but the speech needs a little bit more substance to it. The visuals I thought were integrated pretty well into the speech. Probably one of those things, I know you had your friend helping you out, probably one of those things that's hard to practice because you don't have a document camera at home to practice with, so that makes it a little bit difficult. And so sometimes getting things focused or keeping it up as long as you wanted or showing exactly what you planned on, that was a little more problematic, and you're trying to have to give directions across the room to your assistant, and that makes it a little complicated also. That's minor technical issues, things that you could fix. If you were ever going to do this again, for instance, I'm sure that you'd be able to plot it out a little bit more, figure out exactly how to do those things. You guys get used to doing that kind of presentation, recruiting people for your Army, for instance. So I thought the visuals were pretty well integrated in the speech. I thought you did an excellent job on delivering the speech, and so everything's really solid there. So, like I said, I was a little iffy about the lack of a preview and the summary not really telling me what it was I was supposed to get. I mean, I know what the topic is, and as you talked about each of the topics, they were, they made sense, but the way they're coming together was not quite as clear as they should be. And then the source citation, those would be the weak parts of the speech. Everything else was very solid. Thank you.